Architecture is one of the few art forms that has the burden of having to function. And I've always been interested in thinking about how that relates to the morphology of how buildings change and adapt over time. Because how a building is seen as being right or appropriate depends a lot on who the user is. The interesting thing about working on older buildings is that there's a moment in time when you start to feel like you can connect with each and every one of the prior inhabitants of that building. Everybody leaves their mark somewhere along the way. Architecture has changed more in the last 10 years than it has in the 50 years prior. If you don't approach the making of buildings as part of a team, as a collaboration, you're just not going to do a good job. We designed our own office space to be an open work environment. There aren't any private offices because we wanted to create an environment where you could hear and feel what was going on. When we bought the building, which is a circa 1893 warehouse, it was literally raining and snowing in here. There were pigeons flying around. The building had been abandoned and underutilized for over a decade. We were the first people to be able to live legally in this part of town. We petitioned the Zoning Board of Appeals and obtained a variance, which today you no longer need because the city has thankfully changed the zoning ordinance to allow live-work lofts in the commercial district. We've worked on a variety of project types throughout the region. We've designed retail spaces, offices, multifamily housing, many restaurants, and single-family homes as well. We've been fortunate enough to work with many people here in Midtown on adaptive reuse projects. We worked on the Rupco's Lace Mills Lofts, which is an 80,000 square foot mill building similar to ours, which is now home to 55 artists that have live-work lofts that were designed to Energy Star for home standards. So it's clean, it's safe. We took a building that had been boarded up for 25 years, petitioned the National Park Service and the New York State Parks and Recreation Department to get it individually listed on the state and national register. The next big project that we're working on in Kingston is not an adaptive reuse project. We see it as sort of a bookend to the Lace Mills Lofts, strengthening this cross corridor that you have to Broadway along Cornell Street. Energy Square is a roughly 80,000 square foot new construction project with 57 units of affordable housing over roughly 15,000 square feet of mixed-use commercial space. The project has a goal of net zero for living. Net zero for living means that we will generate enough energy on site through the use of geothermal heating and cooling and photovoltaics to offset the energy consumption needs of the residents. One of the design features of the project is an 8,000 square foot elevated park, an urban farm with outdoor gardens and a greenhouse, a cistern for collecting water to be used in irrigation. As we all know, the urban food desert is becoming a larger and larger problem in many of our communities. Allowing residents to grow their own food just makes for a more sustainable and healthy project and community. But having come from Brooklyn and living in Williamsburg before Williamsburg tipped, I saw what happens to neighborhoods. I knew and I felt that Kingston was going to be my home. The proximity to the city, all of the beauty of the Hudson Valley, it was just absolutely obvious to me that it was just a matter of time. I'm thrilled with what's going on in Kingston right now. People are now able to live in the commercial areas, and it's so important to have a diverse population in the mix of commercial and residential to have a sustainable city. My hope is that what's going on today will continue, and Midtown Kingston will be a destination, not just a place that you drive through.